Welcome to the Rochford Files with your host, Andrew Rochford. It's a special late night stream here on a Monday night. Late Monday night here, and it's definitely things got a bit weird earlier today, which meant me not being able to do the show at the normal time of 3 p.m. Eastern. I figured it'd be another good opportunity to try out another different time slot, even though I don't think it matters as much on YouTube, so to speak, but I still think it's valuable to test out this for myself. But let's just dive right into the show. And let's warm up with this story where a high school football team lied their way into playing a couple games on ESPN. New details about Bishop Sycamore emerged Monday. It turns out the team also played a game on Friday, which made Sunday's game its second in just 3 days. According to awful announcing, the game was scheduled by Paragon Marketing Group, whose president, Rashid Ghazi, denied having knowledge of Bishop Sycamore's Friday game. Ghazi also said the company did not do due diligence in researching the team. We regret that this happened and have discussed it with Paragon, which secured the matchup and handles majority of our high school event scheduling. ESPN said in an official statement they assured us they will take steps to prevent this kind of situation from happening moving forward. The outlet also confirmed that the Ohio School Athletic Association doesn't recognize Bishop Sycamore as a legitimate high school, and the physical location, practice facilities, and roster eligibility could not be verified. The team's head coach, Roy Johnson, also allegedly has an active arrest warrant thanks to fraud charges, while many of their players are said to have already graduated high school, which essentially means a bunch of adults just got rolled by some high school kids. Oh man. This story just keeps getting wilder. There's never been a Bishop Sycamore. They played 2 games in 3 days. Their head coach has an active arrest warrant. Most of their players are junior college dropouts who are nowhere near high school age. How has ESPN scammed this badly? Wow. I gotta say, this is really embarrassing. The fact that, and what makes it worse is, in both those games, they got their asses whooped. I believe that Friday game that they played just before their ESPN appearance, they lost 58-0. Then 44-0 for that game that they got on ESPN. And you know what makes that even more embarrassing? It's the fact that in football, physical maturity is actually an advantage, especially when you're in college compared to developing high school players, because you're probably playing a small mixture of freshmen and sophomore who are still trying to grow into their bodies and round out their muscle. And you got guys probably like 20 to 22, and you're getting embarrassed like that, especially as 20 to 22-year-olds that were part of junior college teams, supposedly. and you're getting shut out by guys a few years younger than you, even though the talent level is very high, you can't use your advantage of being more physically trained to close the gap. This is just sad that this happened. And especially football is the one sport where you should have at least a temporary advantage in terms of physicality until everyone gets to like NFL level. Then that advantage goes out the window, because in the other major sports, being more physically developed doesn't have the same type of meaningful advantage temporarily compared like it would in football, like NBA. If you're playing NBA level talent and you're not that, it doesn't matter whether you're 15 or 23, you're getting your ass handed to you. Just like in baseball, really. If you struggled hitting 90-mile fastballs as a freshman, yeah, you're not going to do much better when that same guy is a major league talent. And in hockey, if you didn't have this fundamental skills well formed out, the foundation, you're definitely going to be even further behind the ball when you play those same high school hockey players when they're on their way to being professionals. So that right there is just a pretty funny story that happened with this fake high school. Kind of like that fake college in the movie Accepted. I forgot to start recording on my end, but that's all right. What matters is I think this is a pretty important thing to cover for this next part. It comes from the closing of Real Time with Bill Maher. And if there's anything you know about Bill Maher these days, it's every Saturday after its show, it's fuck Bill Maher. All my homies hate Bill Maher these days. And this take right here is no different. Give that a moment.
And finally, new rule: blind hatred of America is just as blinkered as blind love. And we Americans should really get some perspective about where we live. Watching the shit go down in Afghanistan, I was reminded lately of every conversation I've ever had with an immigrant, almost all of which, if we got to really talking, included the notion, oh, you people have no idea. All you do is bitch about and badmouth your own country, but if you knew about the country I came from, you'd stop shitting on your own. Now, right? I have never been a rah-rah America type, and in fact have often made fun of Republicans in the past for being overly sentimental, because they're the ones who tear up at military flyovers and get a boner when the governor of South Dakota rides into a biker rally dressed like a painting of Teddy Roosevelt. John Boehner used to cry, like fucking weep, at the drop of a hat if anything reminded him of what a star-spangled miracle this country is. If there was a little flag in his club sandwich, he'd lose it. It's just in the conservative DNA to have this dewy-eyed, sloppy, drunk love for their country that often renders them incapable of acknowledging its problems. That's how we got the 2013 Supreme Court ruling.
Bill Maher, he is becoming what he accuses conservatives of being, except as blue MAGA.
Gutting the Voting Rights Act, not because John Roberts is a monster, but because people like him tend to over-romanticize America. He thought the South was ready for the honor system. They weren't. But liberals, as usual in this era, have now gone too far in the other direction. They under-romanticize America. They have no perspective. Last week, the Taliban murdered a comedian. His name was Nizar Muhammad, and he made up funny songs on TikTok. They forced him into a car, tortured, and then executed him. A comedian. A thing like that hits a little close to home for me. I've had 2 presidents up my ass. This one warned me to stop speaking my mind.
They need to watch what they say, watch what they do. This is not a time for remarks like that. It never is.
And this one sued me over a joke.
Just know that Bill Maher was far better in terms of being anti-war in that George Bush era compared to Donald Trump's presidency. And he's now turned into this major hack who is now defending the blue team at all cost, and it makes him look extremely dumb, especially this whole accusation of saying that liberals are going the too extreme of the anti country, so to speak, when he's not even keeping good track of liberals, because liberals are like him, also coming very much to the defense of any type of war actions that have been done by the Biden administration. What Bill Maher's doing here is he's turning into what the right-wingers do, and that's complete failure to differentiate between liberals and leftists.
And as president, called me every name in the book for the crime of predicting he'd do exactly what he did.
This crazy Bill Maher, this idiot comedian, these people are sick.
He's a crazy lunatic.
He's a whack job. He is a total nut job.
Yeah, I mean, neither experience was pleasant. But I didn't have to worry about being dragged till I'm dead behind a Toyota Tacoma. Have a little perspective about the stuff we howl about here. I'm sorry your professor said something you didn't like. That won't be a problem with the Taliban because you're not allowed to go to school. In Saudi Arabia, grown women can be jailed for doing the kind of things we think of as routine without the permission of a male guardian. China rounds you up if you're the wrong religion and puts you in camps. More children in Burkina Faso work than are in school. Only 5% of Burundians have electricity. The homicide rate in Venezuela is 2,719%. The Philippines, in the last 5 years, has put to death 27,000 low-level drug dealers. My old job. In North Korea, people starve to death. The only people who starve here are doing it for a role. And the only people who have no water live in California.
I can't believe I used to think this guy was funny, but now that I've detoxed from being a regular Bill Maher viewer, now it's like extremely rare, if anything, is funny from him these days.
California. If you think America is irredeemable, turn on the news or get a passport and a ticket on one of those sketchy airlines that puts its web address on the plane. There's a reason Afghan mothers are handing their babies to us.
Right.
And we should take them. Americans right now should take in Afghan refugees into their homes and into their neighborhoods. And I'm sure everyone who just clapped is thinking the same thing. Yes, someone who isn't me should definitely do that. But that doesn't make us the...
War is fine. War is fine, just as long as we try to take in as many refugees as possible. Then it's all good. According to Bill Maher's logic.
The bad guys. We're not the bad guys. Oppression is what we were trying to stop in Afghanistan. We failed, but any immigrant will tell you we've largely succeeded here, and yet the overriding thrust of current woke ideology is that America is rotten to the core, irredeemably racist from the moment it was founded, and so oppressive, sexist, and homophobic we can't find a host for the Oscars or Jeopardy. Oh, yeah. I'm sure you heard the new Jeopardy guy is out because he said boobies in 2014. And this is where your new Afghani roommates that you took in will prove so valuable because they'll turn to you and say, have you people lost your fucking minds? Have you ever heard of honor killings, public beheadings, throwing gay men off of roofs, arranged marriages to minors, state-sanctioned wife-beating, female genital mutilation, marriage by capture? Because we have. What's the lesson of Afghanistan? Maybe it's that everyone from the giant dorm room bitch session that is the internet should take a good look at what real oppression looks like. Ask your maid. Ask your Uber driver. Ask the Asian woman giving you a massage. She'll tell you this place is Shangri-La, and not just because she works in a place called Shangri-La.
That ain't it. This is part of the manufacturing of consent here that, oh, their oppression is greater, so the oppression that these people suffered here in the United States, it pales in comparison to theirs, so that's why the military-industrial complex does what it does.
America may not be the country of your faculty lounge and Twitter dreams, but no one here tries to escape by hanging on to an airplane. No, we wait till we're inside the plane to fight. And then only because they cut off the beverage service.
So, there's so much wrong with this clip to add on to it. And this is why Bill Maher is a Jokeishshitstain. Because of am trying to use examples to ramp up manufacturer consent for the United States and all the illegal wars and sanctions that they have in these countries all over the world. And it's why when you say that to someone who's actually left, it just looks stupid. Because let's be honest, it's really a imperialist mindfuckery that goes on when you try to do this type of comparison of oppression, because that's someone trying to justify the actions of all of the United States, because a lot of the times that's supposedly what the United States is fighting for, democracy, when in reality all they've really done is do their part to make socialist countries suffer. So yes, it's just another, and many of these things, some of these things, many, are things that the United States actively makes worse. Instead of doing, hoping in your white savior type of way, because the reality is that just isn't true. And let's go through and see. I noticed there was one big time checkmark celebrity who supported it, and it was pretty sick in my opinion. Although I think there may be too many now too. But the point is, the one person who endorsed his statements was Katy Perry. So that goes to show you that. Another example of, once again, why you can't trust celebrities with political judgments here, because if you have a true and proper perspective of what life is like here in the United States, the worst of the so-called first world countries, we aren't that much better off than many of these countries that the United States decides to attack. And that's a point that is not going to go over well with someone like Bill Maher, who, for all intents and purposes these days, is just a right-wing libertarian who just likes pot. So he used to be someone who could, in the past, convince you that he was at least a bit left of center, and he used to have better critiques of the Democratic Party, but nowadays all he does is run cover for the Biden administration, just have anti-woke takes all the time, which really just tries to clamp down on actual woke takes and the fake woke liberal takes in the process, and that's pretty much what Bill Maher is these days. A caricature of himself, and a guy who gets the ratio every Saturday after a show, and it'd be every Saturday a month if he didn't try to take one week off a month. So you remember when ISIS-K attacked those and killed 13 U.S. military members? Well, the Biden administration responded, and they responded by a drone attack which wiped out an entire family in Afghanistan, including 7 children. Thanks a lot, Joe. That's exactly the problem with drone strikes. By and large, all they do is kill innocent people, and they rarely ever get the actual targets that the United States decides to go after. And I know yesterday, I think it was an anniversary of, or Saturday, an anniversary of that tan suit scandal, and you really seriously got shitlibs out there who are still trying to convince you that the biggest scandal of Barack Obama's presidency was him wearing a tan suit, when in reality he was a major abuser of drones, killing innocent people, not only in Afghanistan, but Syria and Libya, including one time when they took out some random family wedding. But it's extremely pathetic because the United States Biden administration is so-called done pulling the troops out, when what we know is they're going to continue to drop these drone attacks in countries like Afghanistan, Syria, Somalia, among others. The only difference is you won't have to worry about the likelihood of killing your own, because what conservatives are mainly outraged about is the fact that their own soldiers died, when way more people in Afghanistan have died over the course of this 20-year war. And you've still got people who are really mad when they took these troops away, when the writing was on the wall and there was no other better option other than to surrender. That's all for the first part of the tweet. Now it's time to address the other point of this. But it's Julian Assange who's languishing in a maximum security prison. What a world. And here's what baffles me. There's now part of the left who is downplaying the importance of Julian Assange. Really? That's what I don't get. You got these really major, deep in theory communist, but they don't think this is important. Do you? And as someone who tried to work my way up the traditional route of journalism, I absolutely get the importance of why Julian Assange should not be uh, indicted with the Espionage Act, because it's going to be an extreme chilling effect on anyone after that point for doing adversarial journalism. And no, is Julian Assange as a person one of the 5 or 6 most important issues for me personally? No. But I absolutely know that having a free press is the glue that's needed in order to fight for the other issues. As I said on a show recently, the Julian Assange issue is like a group player on your contending sports team. If you completely disregard that, it probably means the rest of your roster is going to suffer, and it's going to make it harder to win. But if you take the glue issues seriously, like Julian Assange, Daniel Hale, Edward Snowden, Commander X, and other whistleblowers that we have, then it's going to slightly improve our chances of being able to fight for the issues that we may find personally more important, like universal health care. The end game for me is a nationalized healthcare system. Liberation for Black people in the form of abolishing the police state and starting over, reparations, free public college. But it needs to be a systemic takedown in order to achieve that type of liberation for and many of the things that are important to the left. Otherwise, the other annoying part is I know someone in the quote tweets complained about bringing up Julian Assange in this situation. Are you kidding me? This is imperialism, and his journalism was based in uncovering war crimes that the United States had. And if you're gonna, if, at least your complaint held weight when you bring up him in a class issue, but imperialism, you're still gonna complain then? That doesn't make no sense. And that's been something that I've been seeing play out over the past couple weeks, and how you need your whistleblowers if you really want to be serious about being anti-imperialist at the end of the day. So earlier today, the Occupy Democrats account just showing you the continuing, ongoing forms of fascism that have been taking place since Joe Biden took over. So let's read this tweet. Breaking: a judge revokes a Chicago mom's custody of her 11-year-old son after she admits that she is unvaccinated. Dad is vaccinated and will retain custody until she is. Retweet if you support the judge's decision to put the child's safety before her mom's dangerous ignorance. And before I get into this, just so you know, This decision got reversed hours after this tweet from the Occupy Democrats account went up. And this is the ongoing issue that liberals are proud of justifying this two-tiered system of fascism in the form of a society that will only exist for the vaccinated, but largely eliminate and cancel the unvaccinated. And that is extremely wrong, and it affects more people that you so-called are trying to support. Like, for example, I believe it's only about roughly 27 to 30% of black people are gonna be vaccinated or even just get one shot. And you're telling me that you're the voting blue no matter who is Democrats and advocating for a society where only the vaccinated can exist? Does that sound very pro-black to me? Yes, that is very right, Chris Wingler. Extreme bottom feeders. But this is part of the problem here that is ongoing with this a two-tiered system, but there's more to it. And this tweet from Amy Siskin is going to go further into the problem with it. Should unvaccinated people who are eligible for COVID vaccines be denied hospital care with capacity issues and have to pay for their care rather than driving up all of our insurance cost? What say you? Let's be real. You are not on my level if your arguments are based in insurance, high, low, or in between, because I am about universal health care. So that means even the unvaccinated get that same health care. Although there are some people who call themselves leftist who will use that same liberal talking point of, oh, this Medicare, but only for the vaccinated. Sorry, unvaccinated people need not apply. And when you go through these replies here, it's pretty much people, by and large, justifying this private healthcare system. Some people are saying that, oh, they should pay way more. Very few people, when you look through these replies, are going to tell you that healthcare is a human right. Because for me, that includes all humans. And trust me, if you have a universal healthcare system, you're also going to have less unvaccinated people because you're also probably going to have a government that is at least slightly more. So that right there is the type of fascism that liberals are advocating for and have been for a while, especially since Joe Biden took office. They've shown their hypocrisy with police. There's moments where Democrats are even bigger bootleggers for the police state than Republicans these days. Among other examples of their fascism, this whole domestic violent extremist, where just being simply anti-capitalist is good enough to trigger it, wanting to have a police state taken out, among other things, in addition to this tiered society, which it's starting. New York kind of has that off the ground, where there's certain restaurants that if you're not vaccinated, you can't go into them. And there are people out there who have very valid reasons for not getting vaccinated. And those people are being left out and treated the same as other anti vaxxers and people who defend the choice to not be vaccinated right now are getting treated the same as anti vaxxers as well, given that these are still relatively new vaccines. And we still don't know all the long term effects, in addition to the lack of transparency from the CDC and the World Health Organization, and also the hypocrisy of being the so called free market and only having 3 of the 20 some total vaccines in the world available at your disposal. That doesn't make sense, man. And this is also another example of the left, the ones who call themselves leftist, who support this line of thinking. They're also the ones that are either having such a purist view that they lose the principle of building a coalition with people who aren't completely on certain issues like healthcare and whatnot. When you start to have such a purity test that you just become more just like a liberal rather than what a actual leftist is supposed to be and stand for, like freedom of speech, freedom of press, universal healthcare for all, not just some, not just most, not just excluding few, but everyone. Oh, this next little uh, quote comes from Jeff Stein of the Washington Post. And this one is interesting as it will kind of reveal the Supreme Court in a way that you're finger wagging liberals who get mad at you for not voting the Democratic presidential candidate. The conservative Supreme Court justices argued that allowing the Biden eviction moratorium to remain could pave the way for these kinds of outcomes. The CDC, for example, mandate free grocery delivery to the homes of the sick or vulnerable, require manufacturers to provide free computers to enable to work from home, order telecommunications companies to provide free high-speed internet service to facilitate remote work. Look here. The Supreme Court has already acknowledged that they can't shut down a eviction moratorium if it goes through Congress, even though you've got some of these damn liberals trying to just center the blame on that. And we're based on what I'm hearing right now, where's the action to get a eviction moratorium back in place? Where's the action to get some real rent cancellation, including a safeguard for renters that doesn't allow landlords to return the money and still evict tenants anyway. Where is that type of action? But as for the CDC, if the CDC could do this under this type of logic from the Supreme Court, wow, you know what? I would completely abandon pressuring the squad. It would turn into force the vote on the CDC if the CDC could come through and do those type of things like these conservative justices have suggested. Because even though what's funny is there's some people who are infuriated by it, but I think it's also liberal, the Supreme Court letting you in that they can't really prevent as much stuff from happening as liberals would like you to think. And this could be a moment where that example could be valid. I mean, if there's action in the coming days, I think Jimmy Dore's got to reignite the Force the Vote campaign on the CDC. Because thanks to these suggestions, I honestly think it would work better than, given how unreceptive that the squad was and how they really treat the activists on the left like deplorables and treat them like they're idiots and they're wrong. But CDC, on the other hand, don't threaten me with a good time, because these conservative justices are laying the blueprint to potentially save the Biden administration from a bloodbath in the 2022 midterms, or which would probably carry on into 2024 as well. It's this great moment of accidental left once again. I'm going to be honest, I'm getting through this much faster than I thought I was going to get through this tonight. I think probably for the better that this show doesn't exceed, it avoids being closer to 2 hours they usually are. And sometimes having a shorter stream like this is a good thing as well. Alright, so yesterday it was revealed by Javi Baez, Francisco Lindor, and also Kevin Pillar also joined in. But the New York Mets have been in a major plunge as of late. They went from being in contention for the NL East, and they had taken a major nosedive over the course of the past month since the trade deadline. And these three Mets were very frustrated by the fans booing them, as they have been one of the worst offenses in baseball this season. Although offenses are going to naturally struggle a bit more when you play your home games at Citi Field. That's a one of the stronger pitcher parks in baseball. And the fact that what it led to is whenever these three guys got a hit or came around to score, they decided to give the thumbs down. And we would not really know or think much of it if Javi did not reveal in the post game what it was for. And he revealed that it was for it's his way of booing the fans back. And that was interesting because there's been plenty of moments in sports where players have expressed disappointment in their home fans booing them. And every now and then, it got turned into a viral post-game interview quote. But this is not really the reason why I'm covering this. There's been a lot of backlash from especially these white sports writers like your Buster Olneys of the world, absolutely pearl clutching bullshit, to be honest. Him saying that Javi Baez is killing his chances of playing on a team next season. You gotta be kidding me, right? He is still gonna be one of the top and highly coveted shortstop free agents, regardless of this. And this also goes to show that even with the way that the front office has reacted, saying that this is highly unacceptable, goes to show you that even baseball players athletes, they don't get to express dissent back at the fans who give it to them in the first place. But I'm still not quite there yet. The point I'm going to get at is, why do we have so many people up in arms, outraged about this shit? In the grand scheme of things, how important is having, from a societal standpoint, how important is addressing this in comparison to the crisis that we have with the pandemic, not having universal health care, in addition to people about to be going homeless, big numbers. People are now going to be, in addition to the people who are going to probably also, who may also be in danger of being homeless, because of the fact that they're now going to see their unemployment benefits come to an end. That's right. And you want me to have outrage at this when I'm sure that many of these people who got triggered and up in arms by this pettiness, which is minuscule, extremely minuscule in comparison, because they don't have. Tell me how many of those people have the same energy for politicians? I'm gonna be. Let me pull out my. Let me take a count real quick. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A few here and there. They may be able to match that energy for having outrage at politicians, because when you look back to that uh, American Rescue Act and Kristen Cinema stepping up front and center, putting thumbs down to the $15 minimum wage being included into that as one of 8 Democrats to put their thumb down against things that are overwhelmingly popular among the people. And you want me to be upset at this shit? Seriously? You want me to be upset at this? When there's politicians putting far more consequential thumbs down, constantly telling us that Medicare for all is bad. Now, constantly putting their thumbs down on reallocating funds from the police, defund the police, that way it could be used towards mental health and education, among other things, in addition to rebalancing city budgets. Yes, those thumbs down are like hammers in comparison to these foam feigning of tears. So it's absolutely absurd that we've got a society where people care far more about professional athletes dishing a bit of pettiness back at fans who boo at them, when in comparison is the sad part is when politicians thumbs down things that the people want, because isn't the customer always right? Because their politicians are our employees. But no, it's like, okay, it's fine. Better things just aren't possible. Once again, it's time to start acting like you're their boss and stop focusing your energy on being outraged at athletes, entertainers, and put that up towards the politicians at the top of this oligarchy who continuously thumbs down the people on a daily basis. Those are the ones who need ridicule, outrage, people trying to cancel them, not baseball players. Let's get our priorities straight. Thanks to everyone who joined for tonight's stream of the Rochford Files. That was probably my most viewed stream, so I thank that one viewer who stood in for a good while. And I hope to have that type of success with Wednesday's show as well. To be honest, I'm not sure whether that'll be a afternoon or night show. I think I may do another night show again, just because it's probably better for me late at night, at least temporarily, and it makes nights less stressful if I'm doing something like this show, as opposed to just trying to watch some stuff on TV. So please go click the subscribe button. Please go watch some videos, like the stream, help boost it in the algorithm as well. That would be really helpful to me as well. Help boost. And if you go through like some of my other videos, you got time, put some real actual watch hours into it as well. I would appreciate that very much. Also, please go like the Rochford Files page on Twitter and follow the Rochford Files page on Twitter at a Rochford Files, in addition to my personal account, Nug Life Comrade and UGGLIFE Comrade. Lastly, this time it is really going to be, since it's nighttime. This is Andrew